I walk upon this green land, this land that I love, I see figures of chalk carved into the hillsides above. Sir Abbas, a man so proud, and the long man opens wide the gates of his world and invites you to step inside. And the hills, they are hollow and home to the fae who dance on Midsummer's Eve. Some people don't understand when I say these are the things I believe. These are the things I believe. There is an old circle of stone that stands on the moor. Every moss-covered face tells the secrets of ancient lore. The torch stand as guardians, witnesses to the rights, to nature's gods of darkness and of light. And the hills, they are hollow and home to the fae who dance on Midsummer's Eve. Some people don't understand when I say these are the things I believe. These are the things I believe. Let's sing of the mystery of sacred land. See the shapes in the corn made by invisible hands. Secrets of the pagan ways lie all around, written upon the earth in rock and sacred mound. And the hills, they are hollow and home to the fae who dance on Midsummer's Eve. Some people don't understand when I say these are the things I believe. These are the things I believe. The hills, they are hollow and home to the fae who dance on Midsummer's Eve. Some people don't understand when I say these are the things I believe. These are the things I believe.
Well, happy Sunday. Hope everyone is doing well. Get all of my little knobs twisted and buttons flipped here. Well, welcome to Open Pagan Church. I hope everyone had a happy and safe Thanksgiving. Of course, here in America, we celebrate Thanksgiving about this time of year, and hope everyone had an enjoyable one. Didn't eat too much, as it were. All right. So, just checking my mic settings here. Right. Okay, so what is our topic? Well, our topic is living in multicultural, multi religious homes. Good morning. So, how does it work? Well, first off, what is it? Well, multicultural homes are, of course, people that were either raised in and or believe in different cultures from the mate that they have married, moved in with, living with, whatever. Multicultural homes are those, much like my wife and I live in today. We are a multicultural, multi-religious home. We're pagan. My parents profess Christian. Um, my daughter is agnostic at the moment, learning the different paths and different ideas. So it's a whole lot of give and take. There's a whole lot of understanding, if you will, and just letting people be who they are. Well, as it says in the introduction, for many, 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 many years, pagans that found themselves in multicultural homes or most of the time religious homes, Christian homes, in relationships or marriages or what have you, they had to keep it in the closet. Hence the term coming out of the broom closet, as it were. Well, it kind of gets rough, because, um, for hundreds of years, witches were seemed unfit. They were persecuted, burned at the stake. If you weren't Christian, then you were a devil worshiper, and of course, anybody who's done any kind of research at all knows pagans do not believe in the devil. So how can we worship something we don't believe in? So what are some of the things that you can do to help a multicultural, multi-religious home? What are some of the things you can do to help it survive, to make people get along? Well, let's see. Honesty. You start out the relationship honest, because I assure you, the person that you think you're in love with, if they can't accept you for being pagan or non-Christian of belief, excuse me, yep, that time of year, sinuses and allergies. So, but honesty in the beginning of the relationship, and this is in friendships, relationships of one kind or another. Now, I I don't always recommend that you walk up and you meet someone and you say, "Hi, my name's Don. I'm pagan." That's a shock. Um, we really don't have to get into all of that. What you do is just be who you are. You find a friendship starting to build, and you say, "Hey, um, I'm going to a pagan event this weekend," or you ought to check out some of my groups. I tell my people that know me at work. If you want to know more about who I am or what I am, those who find themselves interested, you spark up that friendship. You get to talking, you get along well. A lot of your thought processes are aligned. And I just tell them, if you want to learn more about who or what I am, here's my Facebook. By all means, definitely check out my groups, and you'll find out a little more about me than perhaps you thought you wanted to know. But it lets people know straight up front, I am who I am. And, I'm happy with who I am. I am comfortable with who and what I am. So sometimes when we get involved in life and we get involved in relationships, we find ourselves hiding. We find ourselves hiding who we are, what we are. And that's not healthy. It's not healthy for you. It's not healthy for the relationship or anyone of that nature. So we understand honesty in a relationship is generally the best way to go, right? So how do you make a multi-religious home work, right? How do you make it work? Well, the multi-religious relationships I've been in the past, they don't work for very long. They start out they start out with a good idea, right? Um, I can do this. I'm okay, and it never fails. One person always ends up trying to change the other, or one person may have a religious event over here, and another person may have a religious event over here, and they just so happen to fall at the same time. What do you do? Well, logically, it's a bit of give and take. Okay, one time you go with your mate, and one time your mate goes with you, and you have to have some kind of open communication. Most of the time, realistically, it doesn't work that way. It does not work that way at all. One person always ends up getting jealous, getting their feelings hurt, saying, well, and I've heard this more times than I care to admit. They'll say, well, that's stupid. Or, why do you believe in that crap? It's stupid. Well, folks, that is a sure sign to the beginning of an end of a relationship. And I had really good friends, so I thought, when I dedicated to the pagan path back in the late 90s and early 2000s, when I really started dedicating to the pagan philosophy and learning about it, studying it, getting to know it. And I told my friends at the time, hey, I'm converting to paganism. This is what it is. And they were like, you know, devil whisper. Oh no, let's get a little educated here. Let's talk a little bit of education. And they still kind of shied off and bugger off. And one of the things I always found very interesting, I don't know if anybody else has noticed this or not. Facebook. Yep. Facebook kicks in and out. Don't know if you noticed that. No. Um, One of the things that I've noticed, and I don't know if anybody else has, is suddenly, your old friends that you grew up with, right, that were raised in the church, on the Bible, suddenly when you tell them that you're pagan and this is what you do and this is what you study, you're welcome to come to some of our events if you want. It's not our job to convert you. It's, if you want to learn a little more, that's cool. Um, all of a sudden, you notice that there are more religious posts on their wall. You notice they start checking in every Sunday at church, like they're doing this for you to see it. I've noticed it a lot with some of the people I've met through the years, over the last 4 or 5 years, um, and they learn that I am a pagan minister. All of a sudden, they start buggering off and doing their own thing, and that's fine. But living in a cultural, religious, in a multi-religious style home requires, and again, I apologize, my sinuses are really driving me crazy, but it does require a whole lot of time, and it requires listening and give and take. Because even in multi-path homes, like I'm shaman, my wife is fae, I do things differently than she does. She does things differently than I do. And we've been known to share an altar, split down the middle. She has her side and I have mine. There have been times where we've cast together. But for the most part, you have to realize that listening is job one, and acceptance. Accepting people for their path, accepting people for who and what they are. So when you get into the multi religious homes, one of the biggest trials that I've ever seen is some friends of mine. Um, the If I remember correctly, the husband was Jewish and the wife was Baptist. Yeah, the husband was Jewish and the wife was Baptist. Well, Jews will tell you real quick they're not Christian, they're Jewish. And Baptists will tell you real quick they're the only Christian faith there should be. But the interesting part of it is this couple was married, still married today as far as I know, over 20 years when I knew them. Interesting. They had some interesting conversations. They did when it came time for Hanukkah and time for Christmas. They did both. I know in my family, my wife and I follow Yule. My parents follow Christmas. So we do both. And we do Yule for us, and we do Christmas for them. And she goes to her parents every other year for Christmas and does Christmas with them. Now, I've had some pagan pagan folk over the years go, be of the mindset, well, why are you giving in to their beliefs? Why are you giving in to their way? Well, you're not. You're simply embracing the differences of your family. And family helps make you who you are. So if you're jumping up and down and stomping your feet because your family refuse to celebrate, because your family refuses to celebrate Yule with you, and you're refusing to celebrate Christmas with them, does that really actually make for a good family? Now, it's always been my thought, and I was I was actually, graced, I guess you could say, blessed with a really good mom and stepmom, in that they always raised me to believe what you believe, be who you are, and walk the talk. If you're going to talk about something, and you're going to say you are something, then be that something. Be that someone. Most important thing is be a good person. Okay? So, just because, say for example, if I had parents that refused to attend our Yule celebration, I would not be a better person by refusing to attend their Christmas celebration. Because to me, family is more important than pride. And every year, right? Every year I would make the invite. Hey, we're having the Yule feast. We're going to be lighting the Yule candles. If I have a place for one, we're going to be lighting the Yule log and giving celebration to the new birth of the sun. And then I would be there for their Christmas because it's important to them. Now that's just like when, like for Thanksgiving, um, my job having Thanksgiving with my parents is saying grace. Well, it doesn't matter if your grace is pagan based or Christian based. If you take the time to think about it, you're all hoping and wishing for the same thing. happiness, well-being, good health, um, maybe, just maybe, a few more dollars in the bank. You know, I generally try not to make a wish for that because um, I have what I need as I need it. Granted, I'd like to have a pile of money sitting in the bank, but um, I tend to have what I need as I need it. So, this being said, and this type of thing going on for the younger pagans, and even for the older pagans that are stuck concrete in their way, and the younger pagans that are coming up investigating the philosophies and the ideas of paganism. For those of you that may be watching our pre-recorded broadcast at some other time, maybe tomorrow, a couple of years down the road, or whatever, think about it this way. Vape. Think about it this way. If you want people to accept you for who you are, should you not accept people for who they are? Just saying, you know. And those who have watched my broadcast in the past, yes, I've done videos on my rant on bipolar past and bipolar face, Christian, pagan, pagan, Christian, whatever. That's my own personal crawl, and I have done videos on it, and I'll probably do videos on it again. But it doesn't mean that I don't accept the people for what they say they are. I don't have to agree with you to like you. I don't even have to agree with your lifestyle to be friends with you. As a person, if I like you as a person and we get along and we tend to be along the relative parallel that friends are, that's what makes a friendship, then it's all good. I mean, I'm not going to try to put a thumb on your head and make you believe the way I do. And I would hope you're not going to do the same to me, as it were. So, in multi-religious, multicultural homes, there is a lot of give and take. And I say give and take. It has to be about a 50-50 balance. Some days, some weeks, you may give a little more than you get. Other days, other weeks, you may get a little more than you give. But if you find yourself in a relationship where all you do is give and all the other person does is take, then maybe you need to step back and reevaluate your situation. Maybe you need to sit back and reevaluate where you're at. Because when it comes to multicultural homes, multi-religious style homes, you've got to be able to listen and talk. When, if, let's say, for example, you're in a relationship, and let's say you're pagan, you're in a relationship with a Christian, and they're talking about their points of view and values, you have to be able to listen. But then again, your mate, in return, has to be able to listen to you. You don't have to be able to agree, and it's perfectly fine to agree to disagree. But in any relationship, you have to listen. Whether it's a friendship, a lover situation, a roommate situation, but anytime you take two or more people and you confine them in a space together, there's going to be disagreements. There's going to be things that you disagree on. There will hopefully be more things that you agree on. But you have to be able to listen and communicate these thoughts and ideas. So let's recap some of the things that make it work. One, honesty. Above all, honesty. Be honest with your partner, whether your partner is your mate, whether they're friends, whether they're whatever. But if you're going to spend time together, you have to be honest with each other and put it out there. Because if they're not willing to accept you, then is it a true friendship to begin with? Right? Number two, listen and speak. If you're not talking and communicating as a part of the relationship, and the other person is sitting there listening, they're ready to listen, they want to learn, they want to know more about you, but you're not speaking your truth, and the relationship falls apart, you're just as responsible for it as they are. Maybe more so. Because but in retrospect, if you're talking so much that you can't listen, that you don't have time to listen, that you're talking so much that the other person can't get a word in edgewise, that's just as bad as not talking at all. So, where to from here? I mean, in reality, we all understand that the world, well, the saying is the world is getting smaller. The reality is the world is not changing size. Population is becoming more and more dense. The world is quickly becoming overpopulated. Well, that's not my topic, nor is it necessarily my concern. Mother Earth has a tendency of cleansing herself on occasion. That's a topic for another discussion. But as the world becomes more populated, and the vast differences of the human race becomes more apparent, we know things about diversity. We know more today about diversity than we did 20 years ago. The diversity hasn't changed. The diversity is still there. But it's becoming more apparent that diversification, right, is becoming less important than love and family and friendship is. You're going to find yourself surrounded by very large groups of people that some years ago you may not have. Some years ago you may not have been surrounded by anyone. All of a sudden, life changes and you find yourself surrounded by an extremely diversified group of people. Jobs nowadays, you'll find yourself working with pagans, Muslims, Jewish, Christian, atheist. Okay? You can find yourself in a group of about 20 or 25 people, and most of them either follow a different style of religious path and or follow a different multicultural or a different cultural idealism. Now, you can enter the bigoted idealism of, I just don't know how that person can live like that, blah, 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 blah. Or you can say, cool, we have a difference of opinion. Great. We can discuss that difference of opinion, but I'm not going to argue the point with you. Also, we're at work, so I'm not going to get into a religious debate with you. I accept you for who you are, and I hope you will do the same for me. So as we get into deeper population, and as the population continues to grow exponentially, which it obviously is right now, we're going to find ourselves in a situation where we have to be able to accept people from multicultural backgrounds, multi religious ideologies, being different than ourselves. When we get into relationships, the closer you become to someone, the more important it is to accept them for who they are, to be a part of that interactive chain of getting rid of the divide. We don't have to have division of religions. We don't have to have divisions of cultural ideologies. Now, I know somebody somewhere is going to watch this broadcast and they're going to post, well, I guess that means you accept the Middle Eastern people that stone women. No, I don't agree with it. I don't like it. Let me line their ass up and stone them. That's my thought on that. But I will also not put myself in a position to be around people, I hope, who condone stoning of other human beings because they're different. And like Dave says, I never grew up with Middle Eastern. Well, I didn't either, but that's not the point. The point is, I don't have to agree with your lifestyle. I don't have to like it. I don't have to accept it or embrace it as a part of my own lifestyle. But you're a part of the population on this planet. And the only way that um, Middle Eastern stoning of human beings is going to change is for human beings that are sick and tired of it to rise up and fight back. Fight back against oppression, fight back against repression, and fight back against, by God, well, being stoned for believing something that's different. And that's the way you change things. You stand up and you fight back. You fight back for these things that have a difference. If you don't like it, either fight it or get out of it. And boy, that'll completely set me off on another tangent and another rant. But keeping the topic, and we're actually really going to be a short church today because there's not a whole lot more we can go on this topic. People who watch our pre-recorded broadcast, I would really like to see your points of view. Maybe you have a story of a um, multi-religious home, something that maybe you went through. Feel free to share your story. We'd like to hear from you. I mean, that's what keeps Open Pagan Church going, is hearing from you and your thoughts and ideas. So our topic was multicultural and multi-religious homes. How do you do it? How do you handle your situation? Because it's very seldom that two exactly alike individuals will fall into the same household. Maybe you're both pagan, maybe one of you is a witch, one of you is a shaman, or like in my case, I'm shaman, my wife is fae. Even even though you're both pagan, you do things differently. One person may be a Wiccan, one person may be a witch. Some of you may say they're the same, but they're not by definition. Not all witches are Wiccan. Not all Wiccans are witches, according to my research and things that I've understood in the past. So what is your story? Put it in the chat and let's talk. So I want to thank you for watching Open Pagan Church. It was a short one. We look forward to seeing you next time, right here. Have a great day. Come again.